Dun, 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 dun. Kilted balls.
Balls. Yeah.
I think that delay messes you up. So, I have a new
Slightly.
whiskey, and I threw in one of my whiskey balls in my whiskey, and it's sitting at the
Awesome.
bottom, okay? This ice ball is from filtered water into my freezer, right? Like directly. And then the whiskey like drained through it, but what you can't see, let me give it a little swirl.
Oh, nice.
Like,
What,
where did
is
all
that
that?
from your cup?
I don't think it was from the cup. The cup is clean too. Like, I think somehow there's like particulates that get caught in the ice,
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know. And then it reacts with the alcohol, and so you get these.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, no,
The
I'm
alcohol won't
drinking
feel
it.
anything bad.
I'm drinking it. But it's like pulpy whiskey. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I'm like, what is going on? So.
That was remember our friend in college who we called pulpy whiskey?
I do not remember anybody that we called pulpy whiskey. I think I would remember that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a thing. I had a dream the
I
other
usually
day
say
that
that was my nickname in college, but I didn't want to be pulpy whiskey.
I had a dream the other day that I shaved this all off.
Oh yeah, how'd you feel about it?
I was like so happy, but then I looked like a little baby face.
Uh-huh.
So in the dream, I had like a little baby face walking around, but I was
And,
like, I don't care. It's nice.
I think it looks good. You might be stuck like that for a little while. Although I need to cut my hair. I was going to today. I got sidetracked.
Yeah, it's
So.
starting to like look. I'm getting like curls.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're looking like your old man with the curls for sure.
Right? I know. I'm like, man, this is weird. Yeah, I can't. I really, honestly, I can't decide. Like some days I'm like, I'm cutting this all off. And other days I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave it and see how it goes. And then I'm like, nope, I'm cutting it off. This drives me crazy because it'll get like in my face like this.
Oh yeah.
And that bothers me.
Yeah, it's a little bit Valley Girlish getting in your eye like that.
Yeah, I do not
But if
like
you
that.
grow it just right, you're gonna be able to cover that one eye.
Right?
Like that'd be sweet.
I can do that right now.
Oh, see? Very, very cool.
I'm like emo. Let me pull it out of the headphones here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
Now you don't know. I'm so
That's a great look.
mysterious. Mysterious. Ball buster. Dun dun dun. I gotta put it back now.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I was going back and forth
now
with
it
my
looks
facial
white.
hair. I think I'm just keeping it clean shaven.
Yeah, like a little baby. Little baby.
Like a little baby.
Oh! So, right before we got on, I took like half a second and I looked at the news.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, every day there's something that I find amusing in the news.
Yeah.
Every day. And I know some of you, some of our listeners, are like, yay, whatever's happening in the news. And some of you are like, no, the world's going to end. And you know, Kilted and I are just like, whatever. Right? Like, we get it. We know your fears. We know your joys. Like, we get it. We can see definitely your feels both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's some things that are honestly, just damn funny.
Oh, and you found one of those?
So, let me preface what I found with one of the things that helped Trump win the election was he won the great state of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, always a battleground state, always in contention. He won it, and in no small part, he won it because of Dearborn.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you
Yep.
who don't know how Michigan is arranged, Dearborn is just outside of Detroit, and it is like almost all Arabic people. So it's a great spot where they all move in. They have the whole community, for lack of a better word, like that's where they come, right? So and then they kind of branch out from there, but that is like one of the main areas in America where Arabic and Islamic people come. So they'll come from overseas to there, and then they become nationalized there, or naturalized, or however it works. Right? They become citizens there, or they're born as citizens from 2-3 generations. And then they branch out.
You stick in that area.
They stick in that area, and they can spread out. But Dearborn is now almost all Islamic and Arabic. Not like all, but it's huge there. Right? And because of what was happening in Palestine and Gaza with Israel, they voted anti-Biden because they were mad about how that conflict was going.
Yep, that was definitely a thing.
That's the preface. And so that helped Trump win Michigan. That's normally very Democratic. This time it flipped, and that was a big help in a closely contested hotbed of a state, right? Yeah. So let me see if I can read the actual headline here. Because I don't want to get the headline incorrect. That would make me so sad. Ooh, did I fly by it? But I've checked it since then a couple times, and it made me giggle. Oh, come on, where's the headline? I wanted to read it to you people so you would know that I wasn't like just BSing this. Because I'm sure some of our listeners are like, Paul, you're making that shit up. No way that happened.
You can't find it?
No, it's going to be right on the top of my page. I'm just scrolling through my news feed. I started too far down, I think.
Well,
here it is. Trump wants the U.S. to take ownership of Gaza and redevelop it after Palestinians are resettled elsewhere.
Now, we've had these conversations, and I don't that group of people, and Miami was also one where it went heavily Trump.
Yes.
I don't understand from the first time he was in office why they would think like all of a sudden he would stand behind them instead of standing behind Israel in that situation.
No.
To do anything different than Biden did.
No, they were just super mad at Biden.
And Biden took a page right out of Trump's book, like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, go do whatever you want, Israel.
Yes. That's exactly what he did.
So yeah, I had a rant earlier this week, and I was mistaken. It was just to close friends, and I found out today that one of the people who I thought voted for Trump did not vote for Trump because they were getting upset about the tariffs and things that Trump said he was going to do when he got into office. And I'm like, if you voted for somebody who is then doing the things they said they were going to do, and you're upset because you didn't think through that.
Right.
Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And I didn't want to comment to that person. I didn't want to be mean. I found my higher self. I rented to my friends. So,
but we talked about that.
I found out today that person did not vote for Trump, which I didn't realize, and I was mistaken. So, but I did see some other people. Go ahead. What were we talking about?
No, I was just laughing because we talked about that before and after the election, that people don't understand what tariffs are. And they're like, oh, yeah, this will be good. Which, I mean, he is using it right now as a political tool, and it's working, right? He's like, close the border, Mexico. We're going to do tariffs until you do. Canada, close the border. We're going to do tariffs until you do. And they're all saying, okay, we'll close the border. So it's working. It's doing what he wants. We're not getting the tariffs, or at least they're delayed as long as they do their job. And he's probably just spouting off on the mouth about Palestine and Gaza. The problem is they're in a really fragile ceasefire. And then he comes in and says, yeah, military is on the table. The U.S. might send the military there to make sure there is peace and to take ownership. And the Palestinians should just be resettled somewhere else. Which I'm like, you guys all voted for him because you were mad at Biden for not doing anything. And Trump's sitting here going, yeah, I'll do something all right.
Yeah, exactly. Which to me is no surprise.
No.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. The one friend of mine, well, you know EB.
Mm-hmm.
So and shout out John if you're listening. And he made the comment like people who are paying attention, and maybe in Trump's circle, definitely. I mean, who knows what he's doing? It doesn't matter. But people who are paying attention, like the market was being shorted tremendously when he was talking about the tariffs.
Yeah.
And it dropped a ton, and now people are not shorting the market, and the market's going up. So like people in the know made a ton of money, or people paying attention and who are willing to take that risk.
One of my thoughts today, because it's my busy time, so I've stopped doing any trading because I'm too busy. And one of my thoughts today was, if I wasn't so busy, I would have set, because he had said the tariffs things during the weekend when the market was closed. And I'm like, I would have set so many shorts Sunday night in the pre-market. I'm like, I would have made a ton of money. I go, but I'm too like, that's not where my brain is. So I'm like, I didn't do that. And I'm just like laughing at myself because, again, that's like our friends argue back and forth, right? Like one of them's like, oh, he's just threatening people. And other friends are like, no, he's trying to ruin the world. And I had people today at work or yesterday, and they were like, oh, I can't believe he's doing this. And I'm like, listen, he's not going to do anything that's going to cost the stock market. Like that's not the game. The game is always to make his people money. And they're like, no, he cares more about power than money. And I'm like, no, he doesn't, because he sees money as power. So all those people who are giving him money, he needs to keep them happy. And like they were like, oh, I don't think so. And I'm like, all those tariffs got rescinded because I'm like, all those people are shorting the market right now. And they didn't. I didn't say that to them. But I'm like, they're all shorting the market. Like he was like, we're going to do tariffs, and they all put in shorts. They all made millions of dollars. And then once everybody was panicked, they all put in longs, knowing that they would all go on pause, and they made a shit ton of money. Like that's just like you said, it's being in the know.
Tax the stock market.
Tax the stock market. Yeah.
Fix all the social issues like that we don't have money for.
Yeah. Elon Musk is fixing it all, right? Like fixing it all.
Yeah, fixing it all.
I hear a lot of people calling that a coup.
If you tax the stock market, even just a little, I forget the number. It was like 2%, I believe it was. But you could have Medicare for all, this and that. But then again, it goes back. Jason and I were just talking about this earlier today. Then you wouldn't have Congress being paid off by the food companies, by the drug companies. Because we were talking about our RFK came up, and RFK was calling people out. Like, you're getting money from these people. Why should we listen to you? Like, why should you be able to make the decisions?
Oh, right.
Like, they're giving you money, and you're trying to call me out.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not an exact quote. That's a quote from a quote. I didn't hear the exact conversation, but I can imagine him saying that.
Yes, and I'm not an RFK fan, but he's dead on, right?
Yeah.
Right on with that. I'm laughing. This came up today. So one of my daughters is making a cut for wrestling, so we meal prepped for her. So I don't meal prep for myself, but like listeners know, I'm really good about coaching stuff and teaching stuff, not about doing stuff for me. So meal prepped her for the week. Really, really good food. She's all set. She's eating good.
Nice.
But we were laughing because when my older daughter, who has bad stomach issues, when she was having me like prep her meals and do everything, as she was doing one of her cuts, she had zero stomach issues. And her mom, and she's not wrong, decided recently that a lot of her stomach issues are based on her anxiety. And so she went to the doctor, and they're like, yeah, for sure, a lot of it's your anxiety. And so, she's going to take some medicine, and it's been working. It's handled the anxiety, and she's not having those digestive issues. But I'm laughing at the fact that during her most anxious time of her life, we got rid of the issues by eating correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like
Interesting.
right, and that's it. Like it's they don't make money off of you eating good food. That's not
Nope.
like when I took my daughter to buy her food for the week. We bought good food. It was $120. And I'm like, notice when you live on your own, you're going to be spending this every week. And she's like, well, that's not as much as you guys spend. And I'm like, because we're buying for 6. I just
Yeah.
bought for 1. And I'm like, and I go, you can get by with ramen. But
Yeah.
but we bought good for you food, good food. I go, the plan is to feed you processed crap so that you have to take the medicine. Versus just eating the good for you food that is really expensive. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's all like a weird thing. And maybe I'm not trying to be conspiracy people. I'm saying that's like just how we are raised. I had a talk with my mom. Our family lives in fear. We've talked about it here of getting Alzheimer's and dementia, right? It's like one of my biggest fears. It's genetic. And I know it's one of my mom's fears. And I called her up one day and I said, and this is true, a study had just come out with basically, for all intents and purposes, a cure from Alzheimer's. Would stop you from getting it, and if you had it, it would reverse the effects.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And this was like 5-6 years ago, right? And I called her up and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this thing out. It might have been pre-COVID even. I'm like,
Yeah, I remember this story.
do
but
you?
Go ahead.
I'm like, you
Listeners
gotta
don't.
get on this, Mom. Like, they just did it. They ran the trials on all of these people. The results are fantastic. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you need to like get after it and look in on this, or like talk to your doctor about it. She's like, what was it? Like, what was the thing? And I'm like, oh, you had to eat right and exercise. Like it was like eat a shit ton of vegetables all the time, cut out processed food entirely, and bring your protein down to where your protein should be, and then basically all good for you vegetables. And then you had to go for like a walk every day or a swim every day or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah.
Interesting.
She's like, no, I want the pill. Literally, she was like, no, I want a pill. I want to be able to eat whatever I want, drink whatever I want, and have a pill that stops me from getting Alzheimer's. I'm like, great, but you could do this.
Uh-huh.
Like it literally reversed Alzheimer's in the patients. And she was like, yeah, nope.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it either, right? I told you all I live in fear of that. I didn't change. I'm drinking my whiskey right now with my birthday pretzels next to me and
Awesome.
my Doritos next to me. And what the heck are these next to me? Soft baked funfetti cookies.
No.
What else do we got? We got a lot of stuff
Well,
near me.
I am happy to say that all the red dye 40 is out of the house, and we've noticed a change with Morgan. Except if I eat red dye 40, but I have to sneak it in.
I told you it would help.
My licorice, yeah.
Right?
Well, I didn't realize. I wish you would have told me when you were doing it with Cal. It would have been on our radar sooner. Mm-hmm. But when I was telling you about it, you were like, "Yeah, we did that a while ago," and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
So, I mean, a big thing we're doing, listeners, and I think I've said this before, but we've been doing a lot of shopping at Aldi. A lot of the stuff is German. Their brand, I mean, if you go buy Oreos from Aldi, you are, for one, paying more than the store, and you're still getting dyes. But if you buy their brand of stuff, the dyes aren't there. Like, there's not red dye 40. Just like, did we talk about the Texas? How they said Kellogg's can't have their, or is that on a Thursday?
It might have been on a Thursday. I don't remember talking about it.
Texas passed a law that Kellogg's isn't allowed to be in their schools anymore because they took a list of what they serve American kids of like the ingredients in cereals and stuff, and then they took the ingredients for different countries.
Oh yeah.
And there was tons more and poisons and crap, and they're like, you can't be in our schools. So Texas kicked Kellogg's out of their schools. Good for them.
Yeah,
I mean, we buy. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing about it.
We buy all the yummy sugary cereals. Aldi has their brand without the dyes. It's still the sugar. That's fine. The kids are going to eat sugar. We ate sugar, but it doesn't have all the extra crap. and the ingredient list is a lot smaller. And
Well-
they're $2.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, so one of the things we do when we're like doing our hard weight cuts here is we like remove sodium from our diets.
Okay.
Right? So we cut that out so that your body won't retain any water and you can control your water and everything like that. But if you're eating salt and stuff all the time, you can't control it because your body will harbor it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we like to have total control, so we kind of cut out salt. And like today, I made like cream chicken on toast, right? And that daughter didn't eat it with the toast because she didn't want the sodium in the bread. But she had some of that and put it on her rice and chicken that I made for her earlier in the week. But I was laughing to myself as I made it because total in it, maybe there was 40 milligrams in a serving. Like, maybe, right? Which is nothing, listeners, right? But
Yeah.
if you go pick up a can of low sodium soup out of the cupboard, it'll have like 300 milligrams. And that's low sodium. Like, and if I bought like cream of mushroom soup or low sodium or cream of chicken soup, like it's that high. But making it yourself, you control that. And so it's like 40. Right? And I just like,
And it's still good. It can't be. No,
it
you need
is
lots of
still
salt.
good. It is still good.
That's awesome.
It is better with salt. Don't like get me wrong, listeners. Like, let's not go crazy. Salt is super
I
yummy.
made salsa 2 days ago, and I'm like, something's off, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to put salt in it, and I put salt in, and I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah, salt does the
Not
thing.
a lot, but yeah, it was enough
But
to
like
where
for-
it made the taste I was looking for.
Yes, and for us, we're saying, okay, you gotta like cut out salt for a week, then you cut out salt for a week, and that's not a big deal. You still
Yeah.
get good, flavorful food. It's just not as flavorful as if you had the salt in it, right? Like, and even when you put the salt in, it's still gonna taste better and be better for you than the Campbell's.
Yeah, exactly.
Should be anyway. You hope it is.
Well, anyone who missed my Facebook post, and you might have noticed my shirt today, I appreciate you being on my journey, but I am no longer selling motorcycles.
That's totally not what I thought you were going to be talking about.
Well, we talked. We were talking a lot about it. I was debating, but I was like, "Well, I made a post, and any of our listeners, if
Yeah.
you were gonna buy a bike from me, you waited too long." although I would, if your local dealer, if you're looking for a bike, and your local dealer is not an MSRP dealer, find a dealership that is, unless you're really ready to negotiate and like try to beat somebody up and get MSRP, because there's a lot of dealerships that are not MSRP that add on. Even the local one here, like there's a few in the area, but one of them's $10,000 more than what we sell them for because we sell MSRP. But they'll give like maximum for their trade-in, because it's coming out of that pad. So like, oh, I got $6,000 for my trade in there, but you guys are only giving me $2,000. Like, yeah, you're paying $10,000 more for the bike there.
Right.
So they're giving you $6,000,
Yeah.
and then you're still paying more. So yeah, that's what I would suggest to people. If you're not going to come down to Tilly, then make wherever you're going. It's worth an extra drive. Like if you can find someone within a couple hundred miles, that's gonna be MSRP. It's gonna save you a few $1,000s.
Nice. Good advice.
So.
Well, I'm not glad necessarily that you left, but glad you're doing what you want to do. Doing what you want to do.
Yep.
And I think
And I've
it was
already swung back around and getting focused.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you got plans. You got plans, man.
I do.
That's good. And that's not what I thought you were talking about. I thought you were going to talk about your fast. You posted about that too.
No, that was, a 24, like really where I'm at in my life, a 24-hour fast isn't anything. Just any reason to do it is exciting. But yeah, Jesse Itzler, for this whole year, I guess once a week he's doing a 24-hour fast. And it's usually going to be on Sundays, although this week it was on Monday. I guess something came up. So listeners, if you want a good reason and to do a fast and you like what kind of stuff Jesse Itzler talks about, you can join him.
That is it's interesting when you were talking about fasting, I was like laughing because that's doing it once a week is a very religious thing. Right? Like it's a very religious thing. In fact, one of the readings was the gospel. I think it was the gospel this week at church was about a widow who stayed in the temple and fasted and prayed every day. Like the Bible is all about fasting all the time. And so, we've talked about that, how my mom would always do a 2 or 3 day fast every Easter. I'm like, that's kind of a
Although
normal.
at that time it was weird to me, but now
it's like
I really enjoy it. I want to get back to working out again more. And I think that tag teaming them together is going to help a lot. That was one thing about that job. Like I was basically doing like 20, 22 hour fasts every day.
Right. So then it's not even like a real thing doing it.
Yeah, I was like working. Yeah, 24. Like, okay, whatever.
Speaking of fasting, my daughter and I have been laughing pretty much this whole year because she hasn't been really cutting weight, but like every once in a while she will. And so like right now she's getting ready to. But whenever she talks about it, and we've laughed about this before, so it's just like a carry-on. But she'll like talk to friends and stuff and be like, oh yeah, I'm cutting weight. I want to go down a weight class, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not eating Friday. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so bad for you. That's so bad. And then like the next week, she'll be like, yeah, you know what? I'm doing this fast. Like I'm doing a 24-hour fast. They're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You're doing a 24-hour fast. She's like, I'm like, yeah. I go, trust me.
That's how you word it.
Yeah. I go, I had people forever who were like, I can't believe you're going without food. Like that's the worst thing for you. And now those same people, or like people would say that about my wrestlers.
Yeah,
like, your wrestlers are so unhealthy. The one kid said he hasn't eaten for 16 hours. I'm like, yeah, for sure. And they're like, that's really bad for him. I'm like, and that's probably, Karen, why you're too fitty. So,
yeah,
out there.
Yeah. I mean, and I can understand doing multi-day fasts when people start getting into that, like, oh, be careful, blah, blah, blah. But 24 hours is nothing. Like,
it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like you were teasing me,
it's
like
actually really healthy.
You were teasing me, like on your thing, like, oh, you need to do 24-hour fast, which let's be clear, I'm not going to do. But I was like laughing because I think I was like, when did I eat last? As I was eating my lunch of ramen and egg, and and I think it was like 16 or 17 hours.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like,
nice.
I
didn't know you went that long.
Often I will because like I'll forget to eat. Right.
Oh, okay.
So like I'll get up in the morning, get my coffee.
Oh, Frank, you forgot it's your birthday.
It happens to me.
I just watched that Saturday night.
Oh, nice. It happens to me quite a bit where I'll forget to eat and then I'll be like, oh, I should really eat. And sometimes I'm just lazy and don't eat, but
yeah.
Like I forget, it was Friday was one of those days where like Friday I was at like a big wrestling thing and it was about 6 o'clock at night and I'm like, shoot, I've got to eat. I'm like, I have not eaten today and heads are going to roll. And so that probably had been 24, like it had probably been 24 hours, right? Or just shy of, but I was like, like I'm sitting here doing a lot of stuff. I need to do that. And like you try to stand and do stuff all the time, but the calorie output for me is much, much higher than you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? So, like, when I'm going that 24 hours, I've burned through a heck of a lot of calories. So I'm like, I can't be, like, on top of my game. And so, like, it was funny because I, like, found some food and, like, grabbed some pizzas and they were dry and I poured ranch on them, which I'm not a big, like, ranch guy like some people are. And they're like, are you just, like, trying to add calories and stuff? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm not eating because I want to eat. I'm eating because I need fuel, and I need fuel like 2 hours ago. So I'm just pumping the fuel in.
It's a little bit of a different game. You are definitely more active than I am.
Yeah. Which doesn't mean you can't still do it.
Yeah.
But it's like I always laugh at kiddos. I'm like, if you're just sitting at home all day on a cold winter day, you can go a long time without eating because that's literally how northern humans are supposed to be. They're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
in their igloo, hibernating,
Mm-hmm.
like not eating, just sitting there chilling out. Like that's what your
Mm-hmm.
ancestors did, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You packed on the fat, and then you just kind of like went into a
Mm-hmm.
trance for the next 3 months.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So you probably haven't listened, but Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, has been trying to do Tea with Gary V every day now.
Oh, okay.
Or like this week. And I remember him talking about it, but he went on a rant yesterday. It was hilarious and amazing. Like he just went off. He's like, I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure he said, "You fucking idiots. The algorithm is you. You are the algorithm." He's like, look at my feed. He's like, look at my feed. He's like, Jets football, wine. Like, you know, he's like, that's me. He's like, if it's like depressing news, because you're clicking on it, you're doing that stuff. If you're clicking other things, like that's you. Like that's the algorithm, especially how things have changed now. It doesn't matter your followers because your posts are going to the people who are interested in those things. But he went on and on. It was amazing. It was so funny.
That is
It's called People Like True.
It's hilarious, and people don't like. I think about it sometimes because like I'll tease people when they'll be like, "Why am I getting all these ladies popping up on my feed?" And I'm like, "Cause you click on the ladies."
Yeah.
Like, that's how the algorithms work. But I had never like thought about like I've thought about like be careful what I click on. So like stuff comes up because if I click on like there was one time where I was clicking on these history articles and I'd be like, "Oh, this is cool," and I'd read it, and all of a sudden my feed is full of them, and I'm like, "No, no, like
Yeah,
I don't want
that.
I don't want that," and I had to start blocking all of them, and so like I'm really careful about what I click on because I want to control my feed.
Yeah.
Right, and but
Yep.
like I think that's important for people to know. If you're getting crap in your feed, that's you causing the crap on your feed.
Yeah. He's like, the Chinese government isn't over there like, oh, I'm going to ruin Billy Bob's life today. He's like, the Chinese government doesn't care about you.
No.
They care about making money. And that's the stuff you're clicking on, so they're going to keep on feeding it to you.
And
so
you're
if you
going to keep
don't
clicking
like
it.
Change what you're clicking on.
It
It
like
was great.
so simple.
It was so simple.
So
If
simple.
any of our listeners have that issue, I hope you take that to heart.
Well, and apply that to your daily life because that's something we've talked about. If you hang around with negative people, you'll be around more negative people, and you'll be more negative. If you're being around positive people, you'll bring more positive, right? It's what we always talk about when we talk about manifesting. Manifesting in reality is you focusing on what you want, you clicking the links, and it becoming bigger and bigger and bigger until there's no way you can't have that appear because you're constantly working towards it. Right? Like,
Did I tell that story about the person in motor clothes I was walking through, and she stopped and said something to me, and she's like, when you walk, like whenever you walk by, you just bring this like ray of sunshine like everywhere you go. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm here to do. Like, that's kind of my thing. And then someone else came up and we were all talking and they're like, yeah, he does. That's like, he brings this like aura around him and he's just making everything brighter. And I'm like, yeah, that's what my intention is, that to bring joy to everybody.
and if that's your focus and that's your intention, that's what's going to happen, right?
It was funny. It was the first time like someone's really pointed it out like that. You know, like just like as you're walking by, like I can see this.
Yes. And that is fantastic. I love that. And listeners, you can do that too. Even if you just start little. Just
Start a little. I wasn't always the ray of sunshine I am now.
like one of the things I try to do all the time, and it's hard, but I always try to give my smile. And then try to say hi to everybody. Like, which really throws people off when you're in a big city. Like, hey, hi, how are you? Right? But,
I love it.
you know, it's an okay thing to do, right? My kiddos are like, you seem to know everybody. I'm like, nope, I just say hi to everybody. Just like, how you doing? So
You never know. You never like just that simple hello. Well, just when I started doing shows all those years ago, but like one of my main things was that I am giving a sincere smile to everybody walking by, and I'm saying hello to everyone. Yes, I'm calling people over and stuff, but just that sincere smile. Like a lot of people don't see that in their lives, and I think people were drawn to me, and then they would watch my demo and give me $20.
Yeah.
Just because of how I made them feel for that little bit.
Yes.
Whether they touched the product again or not, that wasn't really my concern. I want people to sleep in my sheets, but back when I was starting that stuff, that was one thing that I was really, really noticing. Like these people probably don't ever have anybody smile at them.
No, they probably
sincerely.
don't. No, I think that's like super amazing, right? And that I always laugh, and it's worse when you and I are together, but it's still bad now. But like one of the things I always find amusing is like I'll be talking to people like after like a trip, right? Let's say a trip, and like they'll be like, "Oh, how was your trip? Did you go anywhere cool?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I went to this cool coffee shop." And they're like, "Oh, it was cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, I sat down with the owner for a while. We chatted. We talked about stuff." They're like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And like, that happens all the time, right? And people are like, "How does that always happen to you?" And I'm like, "Because you have to talk to people. Like, if you're talking to people, like, you don't know which ones are the owners and which ones are just like helping out. Like, you don't know, but you talk to all of them and they'll talk to you. Like, it's just being a nice person.
Yeah.
And then the owners will sit down and you can start having a conversation about, like, and I'm not trying to get anything out of it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh." They're like, "Are you liking the coffee?" "Yeah, I'm loving it. And I love this decor. I like everything about this place. It's my shop." "You've freaking done an amazing job." Like, blah, 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 blah. "Really? You think so? What if I did this and this?" "Yeah, I think this would be good. I think this. There's 3 restaurants down south that do this and this." "Really?" And they're like, "What do you think about your, like, checkout system?" And all of a sudden, Amy will be like, "Well, I tend to use Life 360 or Toast, but I see you're using Clover and blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "You guys know a shit ton of stuff." And we're like, "We know a shit ton of stuff, right?" Like, and then they'll pick your brains, and you're helping people, and they're helping you, and it's just a good feels. But you gotta like give the smile, you gotta say the hello, right? Which I get
exactly
it.
right.
That takes emotional energy.
It does.
But I find I get more emotional energy back.
Yeah. It's funny. I bought some awesome riding boots.
Yeah, I saw those.
that are made more like shoes. So they're super awesome. Like so far, I'm loving them. And on the owner sends out an email. Blah blah blah. If you tell us your favorite guitar player, we'll give you 10% off.
Nice.
Lead guitar player. And I said, keep your 10%. You're trying to make me narrow down to one guitar player. Like, I'm not going to do it. I was like, okay, Yngwie Malmsteen. And then so like I just sent the email like, haha, like so far the boots are awesome. And the owner wrote me back. He's like, yeah, it's a silly question. But Yngwie's not one I hear a lot, and he said this and that. No, can you give us a review? So I gave him a review, and I just wrote him again. I said, I've had them for a week, and they are super awesome, and thank you for making an amazing product. So yeah, I would love to talk to the guy in person.
Yes,
it's the same thing over the email. I'm taking 2 minutes out of my day to cut up with this guy, and I hope it makes him feel good. It made me feel good, like to get an email from him.
Exactly.
So,
like you investing that emotional energy gives you that emotional energy back. It's definitely well worth it. So
yeah.
Anyway, listeners, we are at the end of our time. We hope you've had a good time. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Kilted Balls podcast. And this is the end of the Kilted Balls podcast.
I was thinking that earlier. You didn't say that, but then I
Oops.
forgot.
That's
We're
my
having
bad.
Too much fun.
Too much fun.
Man.
We enjoyed talking with you. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to us babble. And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.